Hi everyone, my name is Verena Distler and this is work I conducted at the University of Luxembourg. I'm now a researcher at Bundeswehr University Munich. Today I'm presenting work titled The Influence of Context on Response to Spear-Phishing Attacks, an in-situ deception study. Phishing attacks are very common and are frequently the point of entry for follow-up attacks that lead to many types of harm. For instance, some phishing attacks can lead to follow-up ransomware attacks, which cause far-reaching organizational, financial, social, and personal harm. Phishing is inherently a socio-technical problem and cannot be addressed by technology alone. Targeted phishing attacks are particularly difficult to detect. So far, few research has focused on how context influences experienced and behavioral reactions to phishing and reporting of phishing emails. This paper addresses three research questions. First, I address the question of what role contextual factors play in successful phishing attacks. Second, I investigate how people rationalize reporting or not reporting a phishing attack. Third, I investigate the opportunities people identify after being exposed to an attack. This study took place in a European university which regularly simulated phishing attacks with their employees for training purposes. I recruited 14 employees, aiming to include a diverse set of job profiles and work experience. The study participants included 10 research staff members with varying experience levels, 3 administrative staff members, and 1 IT expert. Apart from the IT expert, none of the participants had a security, HCI, or computing background. In the study, I used a novel methodology that allowed me to observe what happened when participants received a targeted phishing email in their usual work environment. The method allowed me to triangulate observed and interview data to obtain rich insights into participants' emotions, thoughts, and actions when receiving a targeted phishing email. The study was approved by the university's ethical review board, and going beyond the ethics approval, I ensured that participants would not experience any harm as a result of their study participation. To make an in-situ observation possible, I used a remote setup with a webcam to start a video call to observe participants. Participants were instructed to work as per usual, including social interactions they may usually have. Participants were free to get up. The setup allowed me to observe what participants were doing on the computer during the observation, as well as their reaction to the phishing email. This was a deception study. While participants knew that they were being observed, they were not aware that the study was about phishing. Instead, participants were told that the study was about technology used at work. The observation took approximately 1 hour. During the observation, participants received a simulated spear-phishing email, providing a unique opportunity to observe a response to a phishing attack in a realistic context. After the observation, I interviewed the participants and asked them to complete a retrospective experience exercise, enabling them to reflect on their experience. At this point, participants were fully debriefed about the deception. Participants were encouraged to ask questions and voice concerns. I asked participants if they were still willing to participate in the study, renewing their consent. I triangulate the observed and self-reported data with a summarizing content analysis. The entire study protocol is available in the article. The simulated phishing email used information that was easily available online for a motivated attacker. It aimed to create a sense of urgency. The phishing email impersonated the direct supervisor of the participant as an authority queue. I will now summarize some key findings. To briefly describe the response to the spear-phishing attack, we found that the thought processes differed between people who did not click on the phishing link and those who did. Participants who did not click on the phishing link had a more complex thought process, which was triggered when they noticed a suspicious element in the spear-phishing email, for example, the language or writing style, or the request being sent in an unexpected communication channel. Participants had some strategies in case of doubt, which included asking a colleague for help. They would then report the email to the IT department, or in most cases, take an alternative action. Participants who ended up clicking had a more straightforward thought process in comparison. They saw the name of the professor and immediately wanted to fulfill the request. The authority queue created a sense of urgency. Interestingly, participants typically did not read or interact with the training website and instead closed the window quickly. The social environment of the office played a relevant role. Social interactions were used by some participants to immediately inform direct colleagues and their supervisor of the phishing attack. For instance, one of the participants immediately called the professor who was supposedly asking her to click on the link, informing them of the attack. Of note, none of the participants who clicked on the phishing link talked about it with anyone. Participants felt a strong pressure to respond to emails and other messages as quickly as possible. Participants reported feelings of stress and overwhelm related to emails. This could have a negative influence on phishing-related behavior. Task context varied strongly along job categories. While research staff saw emails as a distraction from other tasks, administrative staff saw emails as a high-priority task. There was no pattern of typical tasks participants who clicked on the link were working on compared to those who did not click. Reasons to report a phishing email included to improve the filters used by the organization, and participants also mentioned that they liked receiving the positive feedback after reporting a suspected phishing email. Reasons not to report included feeling unsure of how and why to report, and participants also felt that it didn't make sense to report a simulated phishing email after they had already clicked on the link. Alternative behaviors included deleting the email, marking it as junk, or forwarding it to the person being impersonated. Participants suggested that training measures should avoid triggering feelings of shame by implying that the employee had not paid attention to previous training. Training should instead acknowledge that context plays a role in how somebody reacts to a phishing email. Participants suggested that there should be specific training for advanced phishing attacks, such as targeted attacks. They wanted to be informed about ongoing attacks and suggested to clarify when and why to report potential phishing emails. In the paper, I discuss how changing organizational norms related to emails might improve organizational resistance to phishing attacks. It seems promising to leverage social interactions further to counteract phishing. IT departments should clarify expectations related to phishing reporting. I also discuss how simulated anti-phishing trainings might inadvertently train people to interact with phishing emails and not report having clicked on a phishing email. Future work should investigate the effects of simulated anti-phishing training, including potential unwanted effects. Thank you. I encourage you to read the paper for more details. I would like to thank the research participants and the HCI research group at the University of Luxembourg.